Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve this quadratic equation here by completing the square in three ways. Let's get started. First method. Here, we're going to solve this equation by first making this coefficient of x squared equal to 1 before we do the completing the square. Before we divide both sides of this equation by 4, let us first move the constant negative 15 to the right-hand side of the equation to get 4x squared minus 24x equal to 15. Now, to make the coefficient of x squared equal to 1, we're going to divide both sides by 4. And this will give us x squared minus 6x equal to 15 over 4. So now, how do we make this binomial here a perfect square trinomial? So how do we find that constant that we need to add to this x squared minus 6x to make it a perfect square? So the strategy is to make x squared plus bx a perfect square, we have to add the square of the half of the coefficient of x. So what is the coefficient of x here? It is equal to negative 6. Therefore, we have to add negative 6 divided by 2, so the half of the coefficient of x, and then we square it. And this will make the left-hand side a perfect square trinomial. But of course, we have to add the exact same thing on the right-hand side of our equation to keep the balance of the equation. Now, let's simplify this constant here. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. So if we square negative 3, we'll get positive 9. So we have here x squared minus 6x plus 9 equal to 15 over 4 plus 9. And we can write the left-hand side as a square of the binomial x minus a 3. So this is negative because the middle term is negative. And we can write the right-hand side as 15 plus 36 all over 4 because 9 can be written as 36 over 4. So we can write our equation as x minus 3 quantity squared equal to 51 over 4. And applying square root property, we'll get here x minus 3 equal to plus or minus, don't forget the plus or minus sign, plus or minus the square root of 51 over 4, which is equal to plus or minus square root of 51 over 2. And adding 3 to both sides of this equation, we'll get here x equal to 3 plus minus square root of 51 over 2. And we can combine these to a single fraction and write it as 6 plus or minus square root of 51 all over 2. Now, let's look at another way to do completing the square. In this second method, we're not going to divide both sides by 4 before we do completing the square. So what we're going to do here is look at the variable terms, 4x squared minus 24x, and we're going to factor out the coefficient of x squared, which is equal to 4. So we're going to get here 4 times the quantity x squared minus 6x, and then minus 15 equal to 0. Now we're going to make this x squared minus 6x a perfect square trinomial. How do we find again that constant that we need to add here to make it a perfect square trinomial? So again, the coefficient of x, which is equal to 6, we divide it by 2, and then we square it. And this is equal to the square of negative 3, which is equal to 9. Therefore, we're going to add 9 to x squared minus 6x to make it a perfect square trinomial. But we have to keep the balance of the equation. Adding 9 to this difference means adding 4 times 9 into this product. And because we added 4 times 9 to this product, then we have to subtract 4 times 9 as well to keep the balance of the equation. Common mistake here is to add 9 here and then subtract just 9 without the 4. So you have to multiply that 9 by the coefficient of x squared, okay, which is the factor outside of this perfect square trinomial. And now we can already write this perfect square trinomial as the square of x minus 3, and 4 times 9 is equal to 36. And combining these two, we'll get this equation. Then we move the negative 51 to the right-hand side of the equation, so that becomes positive. And then dividing both sides by 4, we'll get 51 over 4 on the right-hand side. And taking the square root of both sides, again, when we take square root of both sides, we need to put that plus minus sign on one side of the equation. And we'll get here, same as before, plus minus square root of 51 over 2, and then x equal to 3 plus minus square root of 51 over 2, which can be written as 6 plus or minus square root of 51 all over 2. Now, let's move to our third way of completing the square in solving this quadratic equation. In this third method, we're going to perform immediately completing the square to this difference 4x squared minus 24x. And how do we make this a perfect square trinomial? In this case, we're going to write our equation first in this form. Why am I writing it in this form? So again, in this case, 4x squared can be written as the square of 2x. And then negative 24x can be written as negative 2 times 2x, which is negative 4x, times 6, that is negative 24x. And then here is the minus 15, and then equal to 0. So I'm writing the equation this way because I'm thinking of using our formula a squared minus 2ab plus b squared is equal to the square of a minus b. So if you look at this expression here, that is in the form a squared, where a is equal to 2x, and then minus 2a. So this is our a, which is again equal to 2x, which implies that b must be equal to 6. Therefore, the constant that we need to add to this expression to make it a perfect square trinomial is b squared, which is equal to the square of 6, and that is equal to 36. So we're going to add here 6 squared, but of course, we need to subtract 6 squared to keep the balance of the equation. Now we can already write this as the square of a minus b. So our a is 2x and our b is 6. So we can now write our equation as the square of 2x minus 6, and then minus 36, this one here, and then minus 15 equal to 0. And combining these two terms, we'll get there minus 51 equal to 0. And then moving that negative 51 to the right-hand side of the equation, we'll get this equation here. Taking the square root of both sides, we have 2x minus 6 equal to, don't forget the plus minus sign, plus minus square root of 51. And moving this negative 6 to the right-hand side of our equation, we'll get 2x equal to 6 plus or minus square root of 51. And finally, dividing both sides by 2, we'll get the same answer, which is 6 plus or minus square root of 51 all over 2. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to help me grow this channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.